Welcome to the Apprenticeshop. My name is Nina Noah and I'm the Director of Student Affairs and Outreach. And this is our virtual tour. So I'm going to take you through the shop and introduce you to some of our staff members who are currently working in the building, and show you around, show you some of the projects that we're working on, and talk a little bit about our apprentice program. So right now, we're standing on the top floor of the shop. So this is usually where we'll have visitors coming in. We're at street level, so you can probably hear some of the traffic going by. So we are, in addition to having our apprentice programs and workshops and lectures and all kinds of different events and activities, we're also generally open to the public. So often people will just wander in and be curious about this place, and ask for a tour. So there's pretty much always people coming in and out of the shop building. That's especially true in the summertime. Don't be surprised if Liz brings a friendly face by that you've never seen before. So on this top floor right here, we've got Daniel, who's one of our instructors, working on a Norwegian pram and getting very green. He's kind of in the finishing stages of this boat project. Most of the interior work is done, and he's doing a lot of the finished work right now. And over here you can see a season skiff, which is the boat project that most apprentices start their apprenticeships with. That's actually also the boat that we built with the 12-week program. It's a relatively simple to build flat bottom skiff that provides a really good introduction to a lot of basic boat building techniques. There's another example so you can see a little bit better the interior. So you get exposure to lap strake planking, riveting, which are these kinds of fasteners. You also get a little bit of exposure to carvel planking. The bottom is planked in cedar. Most of the structural elements of the boat are white oak. So you also get to work with a couple of different materials. Some people do the splicing rope work for their bow painter. And if you don't recognize any of the terms that I'm throwing out there, you will get to know them in good time. When I first got here, so I actually, myself, am a former apprentice. When I first got here, I had never really touched a tool, never really been on a boat, and I pretty much learned everything that I know from being here, and just kind of working through it. So you'll get to know all the different boat terms, and there's lots of people who help you along the way. Okay, what else is up here? We've got office space up here, back behind Daniel. We've got a library and kitchen space. Maybe, Liz, if you'll join me, I'll show you really briefly. So this is the kitchen area, which basically people can use to make their lunch. Sometimes people are here late into the evening working on stuff down in the shop, so people will sometimes cook dinner here or we'll have events. We've also got the library section, which is open to apprentices and staff alike, to do research or just read an exciting sea tale. And this is also where we have our Friday community lunch, where we gather as apprentices and staff each Friday to eat a meal together and take turns cooking for each other. Many of you probably know this already, but our shop facility is open to apprentices 24/7. There's a little keypad on the door that everybody has the code to, so the space is really open for your use, as long as you're using it safely, in the evenings, on the weekends, in addition to the regular workday. So, all right, let's head down to our middle floor. manual. Okay, that was more of a success. So this is the very exciting stairwell. You'll get lots of practice and lots of exercise walking up and down the stairs all the time. All right, let's see what we've got in here. So this is our middle floor. You can see Emma. She's poking her head up, working on one of our chase boats, the Ellis. We're right now working on trying to open up our waterfront. So in a normal year, apprentices have some involvement in that. We do a boat work week where we get some of the fleet ready. There's also float in, which this year is scheduled for May 27th, where apprentices participate in basically a crane comes to help us put all our floats in, and apprentices and staff work on ferrying the floats to hook them up to the dock. So we do that twice a year to put the floats in and take them out. So you get some exposure to driving a motorboat and practice towing things. So this is one of our tool areas. So, we've got table saw, joiner, planer, bandsaw, chop saw, a bunch of different machinery. We also have a back area where we have smaller tools, and our epoxy station. Actually, maybe we'll come back here and check it out really quick, just so you can see what it looks like. And so, all of these tools and materials are part and parcel of what you'll be using while you're here. We've got a lot of hardware back here, a whole sharpening station, so you'll learn how to sharpen your tools. You'll learn about the different kinds of tools that we have, and get exposure to using many of them on your boat projects. So, all right, let's come back out that way. So, there's Kevin there, starting one of the steam pots.
Not too noisy?
Nope, that's perfect. So Kevin is our lead instructor, and actually we can come around this way and we'll see he's got a steam box set up. When are you actually getting ready to steam, Kevin?
Probably in about half an hour to 45 minutes.
We're bending frames in, or sometimes for planking, depending on how curvy the boat is, or for other structural elements that need to bend a little bit more than they actually want to. So you can see there's another bigger steam box up here. We've also got some other apparatus for steaming smaller things or steaming just part of planks. So in terms of boat projects that we've got going on right now, this boat is an Abbot King and Rasmussen Thunder. It's a project that has kind of changed hands between many apprentices. So the apprentice that's currently working on it kind of picked it up at a stage where the hull was complete, but we had to put all the framing in. This is a really nice little rowboat. Even though it's small, it's challenging because it has a lot of shape. So this is the kind of boat that you would build either later in your 9-month program or potentially in your second year, or kind of later in your first year if you're a 2-year apprentice. It's definitely more challenging than our season skiff, which you can see another one in progress right next to it. And then some other examples of potential second-year projects. Something like this water wag, which Kevin is actually working on. This is supposedly one of the oldest racing classes. This will eventually have a sailing rig in it. Kevin's actually done a lot of work with fitting the thwarts, which are currently out of the boat. Now you can see he's working on floor timbers, which are the little pieces that will support the sole or the floor of the boat, and often will kind of help tie the sides together in a more structural capacity. For some boats where they're really little, it's maybe more about supporting the floor. For some bigger boats, it has more structural work to do. So that's the water wag. And that's pretty much what's happening on this floor. So often on this middle floor, you know, there'll be a lot of season skiffs under construction and a lot of smaller boats. Down on the bottom floor is where we tend to do the larger boat projects. So let's head down there and see what we've got going on. So, before I take you into the other room, this is where we have a lot of our larger milling machinery, also a lot of our wood storage. So this is kind of where you would start if you have rougher cut lumber or bigger pieces to mill out. We've got this big bandsaw, our bigger planer, a really jointer. We also have a metal shop area that, you know, sometimes apprentices will use to work on personal projects, but for some boat projects we do a lot more work with making hardware. You'll definitely get exposure to making some of the larger bolts to connect the keel to the stem or the stern post. But on some of the projects we've actually cast a bunch of hardware and then or milled stuff on our mill machine. We also have a metal lathe, so we have some capacity to fabricate stuff in-house, and that's something that we're hoping to expand a little bit more in the future, to kind of improve our facility and make it a little bit more versatile and a little bit more usable for more people at one time. Paint cabinets, yeah, and that's pretty much what we've got going on in this room. So down here, you'll see we have a lot of pieces, and these are actually all parts of the Cliffy Lobster boat, which is originally from the Maine coast, or it's a design from the Maine coast. It's kind of in the very early stages. When we were upstairs, I didn't point it out and you may not have noticed it, but there was that table that the Susan skiff was sitting on. That's actually a big lofting table for the Cliffy, this boat. Lofting is one of the first stages in construction where you actually take the plans and you draw them out full size. And it allows you to produce patterns for your molds, which are kind of the structural pieces that help you bend the planking in the correct shape. You use it to make patterns for floor timber sometimes, for the keel, so for a lot of the structural elements. So it does kind of look like a pile of wood, but they're all going to be pieces of the backbone eventually. And this other big boat that we've got here, which actually maybe I'll switch places with you, Liz. Liz is, she works in the office and is a wonderful human, and she's helping me film this. So this big old boat is a Dublin Bay 24. It's, 38 feet overall, but 24 on the water line. It's an Irish racing boat. This is definitely the biggest project that I think we've had in here. So this is not super typical of our larger projects. Something like the Cliffy is a little bit more typical in size. We actually had to build a whole extension onto the building to be able to accommodate the Dublin Bay in this space so that we had enough overhead to be able to put the cabin top on, because it will get an engine. It will have a simple cabin. So this has been a multi-year build. So with most of our with something like the Susan Skiff, you will work on that from beginning to end. But with some of our projects, like the Dublin Bay, you may jump in the middle of the project and leave before it's completed, kind of depending on the time frame in which you're here. That's what we've got in terms of boat projects going on right now, and we're gonna head outside to show you our waterfront. We've got a lot more boats out there since we do storage, and we rent moorings and we rent dinghy space, and so we have kind of, in addition to our apprentice program, we have a working waterfront. We also do a lot of sailing programs, especially in the summer, but even a little bit in the shoulder seasons, both for youth and adults. So there's kind of multiple different things going on in the shop at any given time. I would definitely say that apprentices are kind of the heart and soul of the place, and are, the most consistent long-term people that we have in here. But so much about what we do is also, about the surrounding community and involving other people, even in shorter term ways. And we're trying to expand our outreach in that direction, and trying to engage more with our immediate surroundings and the people that live here. So we do have, in a second I'll introduce you to João, who teaches, he's got a really cool project where he's trying to build a Portuguese sardine carrier and sail it back to Portugal. He is Portuguese. He was an apprentice at the same time that I was. And he's really getting a lot of local youth involved in his project. We've also got our maritime skills program, where again we're kind of engaging with local middle schoolers and high schoolers, bringing them into the building and teaching them some of the traditional skills that we do. That's kind of our thing. And I guess one other thing before we go outside, you probably read about it on the website, but part of our curriculum in our apprentice programs is seamanship. So you learn how to build boats, and you also learn how to operate boats. And that includes power boats, which we have, again, for dealing with our floats. We have for the sailing program, we have for doing work on our waterfront. That's sailboats, rowboats, so you'll get a variety, or exposure to a variety of different kinds of boats, and learn how to handle them and kind of get comfortable with those different types of boats. You'll learn things like anchoring and how different knots and how to coil and beckett a line and how to tie a boat up, and so all these different things that are kind of part and parcel of safely managing a boat. And the other component of our seamanship program is expedition, which is, we'll spend 5 days in the fall and then 5 days in the summer going out and sailing around Penobscot Bay. So that's kind of a more intensive period of getting comfortable in a boat, learning seamanship skills, and also getting to know each other. That's a really, it's a really nice way of being with humans, and it's one of my favorite things. So, yeah. All right, let's go outside. probably going to be blinding out here because it's a beautiful sunny day. Summertime in Maine is really wonderful. Some people don't like winter. I really like winter time in Maine, but I think part of the trick is you gotta figure out ways to get outside, otherwise it gets a little tough. It's long, but then it's gorgeous like this. So this is our waterfront. You can see parking area, all of our floats stacked up, which we're going to be putting in really soon. You know, some of our storage boats. This shed in the corner, that is Schwau's shed where he's working on his sardine carrier. Well, do you want to wave and say hi? He's very friendly. What else do we got going on? We've got some other big sheds for storage. We've got some outdoor wood storage around here. Maybe we'll take a look at some of our cruise boats. So it's a little hard to see right now, but this boat with the silver tarp on it, that's white with the green bottom, that's actually one of the twins. There are two of them, thus the twins. And that's usually what we take out on expeditions. They're really beamy and comfortable, and really nice boats to live on. They're open boats, so you know, we basically sleep on the boats, and if it's raining, we'll rig up a little boom tent situation so that you don't get totally soaked. But part of the experience is being exposed to the elements and just being out there. And like I said before, it's a really wonderful thing. And it's, you know, well, there's a big shed in the way, but there's this beautiful sea out there. Penobscot Bay is one of the most amazing places to sail. You know, not only is it really beautiful, but there's tons of little islands to explore. So yeah, it's a really, being able to get out and explore these places by boat, in a place where, you know, sometimes boat is the only way that you can actually access it, is a really special thing. I just want to point out Nate, who's our sailing director. He is working on getting the Mako ready to go in the water.
Hey, I'm Nate. I just paused my iTunes playlist. I'm sanding a boat that we use in our summer program and also in our high school programs in the spring and the fall. We're just doing a little bit of epoxy work so it can stay up and running for another season.
Nice.
And it's a nice day to do it.
True story. Yeah, well, maybe let's duck over here so we can at least show you the pier, even though we don't have floats in yet. Yeah, so this is our pier, which is, you know, both, the floats get hooked up to it, so we will leave shop boats on our floats. We have dinghy dock space, like I mentioned before. It's kind of a big part of the sailing program. You know, kids are down there all the time in the summer, and it's also open to the public. So, you know, people will walk down and enjoy the view and enjoy the breeze. So it's a nice way to be close to the water. And if you look out beyond some of those pilings, the little poles sticking up, you can actually see the breakwater and the lighthouse, which is a really nice place to walk. Also, we'll often sail out there in the summer season. Usually during seamanship, we'll stay within the harbor. Sometimes we'll get out and go for, you know, a little picnic around Owl's Head, or a little further out beyond there. You can't really see. But generally for seamanship, we'll kind of stay closer to home, and expedition is really when we get out further into the bay to explore. And yeah, what else to say? Well, you can, feel free to reach out to me anytime with questions. The website has a lot more information about, the different programs. In terms of our apprenticeships, I think I mentioned this, but we have a 12-week program, a 9-month program, and a 2-year program, which basically allow you to go as shallow or as deep as you want to go in learning how to build boats. So yeah, we're excited to be able to show you around, and thanks for joining our tour.